The rain fell hard that night, making the streets look like silver rivers under the dim glow of the lamps. Cars were gone. Silence rolled. And only the sound of water striking metal echoed through the bridge. A man stood there, his arms strong, yet trembling, holding his young son tight against his chest. The boy hid his face in the red blanket, afraid of the storm. But the man's eyes were fixed on something far more terrifying. Across the railing, a woman in a white dress leaned forward, her body shaking, ready to fall into the black void below. "Don't jump," he shouted, his voice breaking through the storm like a thunderclap. His hand reached out, desperate, begging. But the woman didn't turn her head. Her wet hair clung to her face, and her lips whispered something the rain tried to steal away. She was ready to let go of everything, and the man knew if he hesitated, he would watch her vanish into the river's endless mouth. He handed the child tighter into one arm and stretched the other further, catching her wrist just as her body began to tilt. His fingers locked around her trembling skin. She gasped, shocked that someone had touched her when she thought she was already gone. For a moment, she looked into his eyes, and there she saw not just strength, but also something familiar: pain, loss, struggle. He wasn't just a stranger. He was someone who knew what it meant to fight against life when it tried to crush you. The boy. His arm cried out, sensing the danger. The father whispered gently to calm him, but his eyes stayed locked on the woman. "I won't let you fall," he said. "You hear me? I won't let you." His grip tightened though the rain tried to make them slip apart. She shook her head, her voice weak. "You don't understand. I'm not supposed to be here. I was never meant to live among you." The words struck him as strange, but he didn't loosen his hand. Instead, he leaned forward, his muscles straining, pulling her slowly back toward him. Her dress clung to her body, heavy with water, making it harder for him to lift her. She trembled not just from the cold, but from fear, from secrets she carried that no one else knew. She fought against his pull, not because she wanted to fall anymore, but because she feared what might happen if she returned. Still, he refused to give up. "You're coming back," he growled, his voice a mix of fury and hope. "Not tonight. Not like this." His son's small hand pressed against his chest, as if giving him the strength of two lives instead of one. With one last desperate pull, he dragged her over the railing. She collapsed into his arms, coughing, sobbing, clinging to him as if she had forgotten how to breathe. For a long moment, the three of them stayed there, wrapped in rain and silence, broken only by her cries and the boy's soft whimper. The man held them both, his chest rising and falling like a shield against the night. He thought it was over. He thought he had saved her. But when her sobs slowed and her eyes lifted to meet his, what he saw inside them froze him in place. Her eyes glowed faintly, like stars hidden beneath clouds. They were not human eyes. They carried depth, light, and sorrow far older than anything he had ever known. He stepped back slightly, tightening his hold on his son, his instincts screaming. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice low, suspicious. The woman's lips trembled, but she forced the words out, words that twisted the storm into silence for a heartbeat. "I came here from the stars. I should never have let you see me like this." She pressed her hands against his chest as if begging him to release her, but his arms held firm, unwilling to let go after fighting so hard to save her life. His world shifted in that single moment. A stranger he pulled from the edge of death was not even human. His heart raced, torn between fear and curiosity. The boy in his arm peeked up from the red blanket, his innocent eyes staring at her glowing ones for reasons the man could not explain. His son didn't cry anymore. Instead, he reached out a small hand toward the strange woman's face. The father's breath caught as he realized what was happening. His son wasn't afraid. He wasn't rejecting her. He was drawn to her, as if he already knew her. The woman froze, her glowing eyes softening as the child's hand touched her cheek. She whispered something in a language not of earth, a word that sounded both like sorrow and promise. The man's chest tightened. He had thought this night was only about saving a life. He was wrong. It was about uncovering a secret that had been waiting in the shadows, hidden even from him. A secret that would change not just his life, but his son's future, and perhaps the fate of everyone who lived under the stormy sky. The storm raged on. But the man barely noticed it now. His heart pounded, his breath heavy, as he held both his son and the strange woman. The woman's eyes glowed faintly under the flicker of the streetlights, her wet dress clinging to her as she trembled. She looked fragile, broken, and yet there was something in her presence that felt more powerful than the night itself. The boy's small hand still touched her cheek, as if he didn't see her as strange at all. He only saw someone in pain, someone who needed warmth. The father pulled his son back protectively, his arms tightening. "What are you?" His voice was sharp, though inside he was more afraid than angry. The woman's lips trembled as she tried to speak. "I didn't mean for you to know. I didn't want anyone to see me." She coughed, her voice weak, but steady enough to carry truth. "I am not from here. My people, we were watching, hiding. I was never meant to be seen." Her eyes flickered with guilt, as if even admitting those words was dangerous. He looked round the bridge, half expecting someone else to appear from the shadows, but they were alone, only the rain and the empty road. He pulled her closer despite himself, trying to shield her from the cold, though his mind screamed at him to let her go. "You almost jumped," he said. "Why? If you're not human, what could drive you to this?" The woman closed her glowing eyes, her voice breaking. "Because I failed. My mission, my people, everything. If I return, I will be punished. If I stay, I bring danger to you all." I thought ending it was the only choice left. The man shook his head, his voice fierce. "There's always another choice. I know what it means to feel like you're at the end, but you fight, you hold on." His son pressed closer against his chest, listening quietly, as if even the child understood the weight of the moment. The woman stared at him, her expression softening at his words. She saw something in him she hadn't expected, someone who had carried his own battles, someone who refused to bend even when the world tried to break him. Her gaze dropped to the child, and her glowing eyes filled with a strange tenderness. "Your son," she whispered. "He is not afraid. Most humans would fear me. But she stopped, as if realizing something she didn't want to say out loud. The boy reached out again, his fingers brushing against her hand. A faint shimmer of light spread from his touch, glowing against her skin before fading. The father pulled his son back quickly, alarm flashing in his eyes. "What did you just do to him?" he demanded. The woman shook her head quickly. "No harm, none. He carries something inside him, something I didn't expect. He is different." She looked at the boy as though he was the answer to a question she had been searching for. "I don't understand how, but your son is linked to us, to me. That's why he isn't afraid." The man's breath caught, his mind racing. His son was just a child, innocent and pure. How could he be linked to beings not from this world? Before he could speak again, a strange hum cut through the storm. It was low at first, almost hidden by the rain. But then it grew louder, like an engine thrumming in the sky. The woman's eyes widened in fear, and she grabbed his arm with sudden urgency. "They found me," she whispered. "I should have known they would. They are here." The man looked up, his heart freezing. Through the dark clouds, faint lights began to shine, moving with precision that no human aircraft could match. The boy buried his face against his father, sensing danger. The man's jaw tightened, instinct taking over. "Who's here?" he demanded. The woman's voice shook. "My people, the ones who would rather see me erased than risk my failure being known. They will not care if you or your son are caught in their path." She gripped his arm harder, her desperation breaking through. "You should leave me here. Save your son. Run." But the man didn't move. His feet stayed planted on the wet pavement, his eyes locked on the approaching lights. "I'm not leaving you," he said firmly. I didn't fight to pull you back just to watch you be taken. If they want you, they'll have to go through me first." His words were steady and shaken, even though he felt the weight of something far greater than himself pressing down. The woman stared at him in disbelief, her lips parting as if she couldn't understand why he would stand for her. The humming grew louder, the lights piercing the storm clouds above. The woman whispered, "You don't know what you're saying. You don't know what they can do." But the man only shifted his son in his arms, his free hand tightening into a fist. "Maybe I don't," he said, his voice hard as steel. "But I know one thing, they're not taking you tonight." His words cut through the storm like a promise. The woman's glowing eyes shimmered, not with fear now, but with something new. A spark of hope she thought she had lost. The first beam of light broke through the clouds, shining down upon the bridge. The rain caught in its glow, turning to silver mist. The woman trembled, whispering words in her strange language. The man held her tighter, refusing to let go, while his son's innocent eyes watched the sky as if waiting for something. Above them, the storm roared, but it was nothing compared to the storm that was about to descend upon their lives. The beam of light grew brighter, cutting through the storm as if the rain itself feared it. The man held his son close, his muscles tense, while the strange woman pressed against him, trembling, her glowing eyes fixed on the sky with dread. "They're here," she whispered again, her voice low and broken. "Once they land, there will be no mercy, not for me, not for you." The man narrowed his eyes at the approaching lights. He had never seen anything like it. Not planes, not helicopters. These things moved with perfect silence and terrifying grace. The storm did not shake them. The winds did not slow them. They descended like hunters who already knew their prey was cornered. He could feel his heart racing, but he refused to let fear control him. His son's tiny hand gripped his shirt, trusting him completely. That trust was heavier than any fear. The woman tried to step back, as if ready to run, but his hand caught hers again. "You said they will kill you," he said firmly. "If I let you go now, it's the same as letting you fall from that bridge." Her lips trembled, but she shook her head. "You don't understand. If you fight them, you'll die. They are soldiers bred for only one purpose. They will burn through you like fire through paper." Her words were sharp, desperate, but his grip only tightened. "Then let them try." The first ship broke through the clouds, sleek and silver, glowing with lines of blue light that pulsed like veins. Its size was smaller than he expected, no larger than a truck, but its presence was immense. It hovered above the bridge, humming, with an unnatural vibration that made his teeth ache. Just smaller lights followed, circling like wolves around prey. The woman gasped, clutching his arm. "They sent hunters. They don't come for questions, they come for silence." A hatch opened beneath the lead ship, and from the light stepped figures tall, armored, their movements too sharp to be human. Their faces were hidden behind masks, but their glowing eyes matched the woman's, only colder, merciless. They landed on the wet pavement with a thud that echoed through the storm. One of them raised a weapon that looked both alien and alive, its barrel glowing faintly. The man shifted, placing his son behind him and pulling the woman closer. His jaw tightened. "Stay behind me," he muttered. She stared at him in disbelief. "You can't fight them, you're only human." But her protest faltered when she looked into his eyes. There was no fear there, only the same fire that had pulled her back from the edge of death. One of the hunters spoke, its voice metallic and cold. "Subject escaped containment. Terminate." The woman flinched as the words cut through her. She whispered, "They mean me." The weapon lifted, humming with deadly energy. The man reacted without thinking. He grabbed a broken piece of railing nearby, a jag length of steel, and stepped forward like a shield. His son cried out, but he did not waver. The first blast came, a beam of searing light that split the rain into steam. He swung the metal bar instinctively, and to his shock, the beam deflected, scattering sparks across the bridge. The hunters paused, their heads tilting, as if they had not expected resistance. The woman's eyes widened in disbelief. "That's not possible," she whispered. "No human should be able to." But the man didn't have time for questions. He swung again as another blast came, knocking it aside. The steel bar glowed faintly now, as if the alien energy had fused with it. His hands burned from the heat, but he held tight. "Stay back," he roared at the armored figures. The woman pulled the child close. Her glowing eyes locked on the man. "He shouldn't be able to do this," she whispered to herself. Unless her gaze shifted to the boy, who watched with wide, calm eyes. Something in his small frame glimmered, like hidden power stirring. She understood then. The boy's touch had awakened something in his father, something linked to her people. He wasn't just fighting with human strength. He was fighting with something more. The hunters regrouped, their weapons charging brighter. The man gritted his teeth, sweat mixing with rain. His arms trembled, but he refused to back down. "If you want her," he growled, "you'll have to take me first." His voice thundered louder than the storm itself. The hunters moved in, 3 against 1, weapons glowing. The boy pressed his hand against the woman's chest, whispering in his innocent voice, "Help him." Her glowing eyes filled with tears. She had been ready to give up on life. But now a child was asking her to fight. She stepped forward, raising her hand. And from her palm burst a wave of light that struck the hunters, forcing them back a step. The man glanced at her, surprised. But she only nodded. "We fight together," she said. The bridge became a battlefield under the storm. Alien energy clashed with human will, steel against light. Father and stranger standing side by side. The boy's small voice cried out encouragement, his presence a spark that neither side fully understood. The hunters pressed hard, their attacks relentless, but the man did not falter. With every strike of his glowing steel, with every shout of defiance, the storm itself seemed to bend around him. The woman's power flared brighter, her eyes burning like twin stars. For the first time, she wasn't fighting for herself. She was fighting for the man who refused to abandon her, and for the child who believed in her. Together, they held the line as the hunters advanced out, and above them, more lights broke through the clouds, the sky filling with ships. The battle on the bridge was only the beginning. The bridge shook as more ships pierced through the storm clouds, their lights cutting across the night sky. The man tightened his grip on the glowing steel bar, his chest heaving with exhaustion. The woman stood beside him, her palms still shimmering faintly from the burst of light she had unleashed. The boy climbed to her, his small hand pressed to her arm, as if he could lend her strength just by touching her. The hunters advanced again, their glowing weapons humming with deadly power. The father braced himself, ready to swing, but the woman suddenly grabbed his arm. "We can't stay here," she whispered urgently. "There are too many. If they trap us, we won't survive." He looked at her, sweat and rain running down his face. Then, at his son's frightened eyes. She was right. He might stand his ground. But his son couldn't. His voice came out rough, but steady. "Then where?" She pointed toward the city. Lights in the distance barely visible through the rain. "Underground. We must hide where their scanners won't reach. If we can get far enough, I can shield us." The hunters raised their weapons again, and the man made his choice. He swung the steel bar with all his strength, striking the ground. Sparks burst, a flash of alien energy scattering across the bridge and forcing the hunters to pause. "Run," he shouted, grabbing his son into his arms and pulling the woman with his free hand. Together they sprinted down the bridge, their footsteps splashing through puddles as beams of light exploded behind them. The city streets were nearly empty at that hour, the storm keeping everyone inside. But for the 3 running figures, the storm was no shelter. Beams from the hunters' weapons burned into the road behind them, exploding concrete and twisting metal. The man's lungs burned, but he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. Every step was powered by one thought: keep his son alive. They ducked into an alley, the woman pressing her back to the wall, her glowing eyes scanning the sky. The boy whimpered, softly, burying his face against his father's chest. The man stroked his head, whispering, It's okay, I've got you. His words were firm, but his eyes betrayed his doubt. He turned to the woman. You said you can shield us. Do it now. She shook her head. Not yet. My strength is weak after fighting them. I need more time. But there's a place, an old station beneath the city. If we can reach it, I can use the earth around us to mask our presence. The man clenched his jaw. He had no reason to trust her, but trust had already been forced upon him. He nodded. Lead the way. They slipped through the shadows, weaving between broken signs and shattered shops. Above, the ships prowled like predators, their searchlights sweeping across rooftops. Once, a beam caught the edge of the alley, and the woman raised her hand quickly, bending the light just enough that it passed them by. The father's eyes widened. How did you? She cut him off. Later. Keep moving. Minutes felt like hours as they darted through the city, hearts pounding with every sound from above. Finally, the woman led them to a broken stairwell descending into darkness. A rusted sign above read Metro Line 12. The father looked at the cracked steps and then at his son. It's not safe. It's the only way, she said, already moving downward. The boy stirred, whispering in a sleepy voice, Daddy, I'm scared. The man pressed his lips to his son's damp hair. I know, son. But we're together. That's what matters. And with that, he followed her down into the dark. The air was thick underground, filled with dust and the smell of rusted iron. Their footsteps echoed against stone walls as they descended deeper. The tunnels were empty, long abandoned, but the silence was almost worse than a storm above. The woman stopped finally in a chamber where old train tracks split into darkness. She knelt, pressing her hands against the ground, her glowing eyes dimming as she whispered words in her alien tongue. A faint shimmer rippled through the air, almost invisible. Like heat waves rising from hot pavement, the father frowned. What are you doing? She answered without looking up. Hiding us. They'll still search. But this will make it harder. It may give us a chance to breathe. The boy slid from his father's arms and walked to her, placing his small hand over hers. The shimmer grew brighter for a moment, then steadied. The woman gasped, looking at him with war. Your son, he strengthens me. Somehow, his presence fuels my power. I've never seen this before. The man stepped closer, suspicion lacing his voice. What does that mean? What is he to you? She lifted her gaze to his, and for the first time, he saw fear not for herself, but for them. It means your son is not just human. He carries something of us within him. I don't know how, but I know this he is the reason I was sent here. The father froze, the weight of her words slamming into him. His son, his little boy who he had carried through every struggle alone, was now tied to something far beyond earth. You're saying, he's not mine. His voice cracked, anger and pain bleeding through. Her eyes softened, glowing gently. No, he is yours, in every way that matters. But he is also more, and that more is what they fear. That is why they will not stop hunting. The man's fists clenched, his chest heavy. He looked at his son, who stared back with innocent trust. Unaware of the storm of truth swirling round him, the father's heart ached. But one thing was clear: he would never let anyone take his boy away. Above, faint echoes of the ships vibrated through the earth. The hunters were still searching, and the night was far from over. The tunnels groaned with the sound of dripping water, and the air felt heavy with secrets. The father sat on a broken bench, his son curled against his chest, finally asleep despite the echoes of danger above. Across from him, the woman sat with her back to the wall, her glowing eyes dimmed, but never fully fading. She was watching the boy, her face soft in a way he hadn't seen before. The father's voice broke the silence. Explain. His tone was calm but sharp, like a blade that had been honed by hardship. What do you mean he carries something of you? She looked at him, her lips parting, but hesitation kept the words locked for a moment. Finally, she whispered, long ago, before your son was born, my people came here, not for war, for survival. Some of us blended into your world, hidden, we left fragments of ourselves behind, in hopes that if we ever failed, those fragments could awaken. Her gaze dropped to the sleeping child. Your son carries one of those fragments, a spark of my people's power. The man shook his head. That's not possible. He was born in a hospital, like any other child. His mother, his voice faltered, memories of a woman he once loved, now gone, pressed against his heart. He clenched his jaw. She never said anything. She may not have known. The woman said softly, the spark chooses on its own. Your son was chosen, long before he could speak. The father's hand tightened protectively round the boy. His voice grew hard. He's not a weapon. He's a child, my child. The woman leaned forward, her glowing eyes locking on his. And that is why he is still alive. My people would have taken him already if they had known. But now the hunters saw him touch me. They know they will stop at nothing to claim him. The man's heart pounded, fear and rage twisting together. He looked at his son, peaceful in sleep, and then back at the woman. Then let them come, he growled. I'll die before they lay a hand on him. She shook her head, sorrow in her voice. You can't fight them alone. Not even with the spark's power burning through you. If you want to protect him, you must understand what he is. And you must let me teach you. The father leaned back, his eyes narrowing. Teach me? You mean turn him into something he isn't? No, she said quickly, her voice trembling. Not change him. Reveal him. He doesn't need to be a weapon. But he needs to know who he is, because only then can he survive what's coming. Before the man could respond, the ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling of the tunnel. The woman's head snapped up, fear flashing in her glowing eyes. They found us. The father stood, shifting his son carefully into his arms, his muscles tensed, ready for whatever came. The woman stepped closer, raising her hands, light flickering round her fingers. Together, they waited. From the dark end of the tunnel came a metallic screech, followed by glowing red eyes piercing the black. 3 hunters emerged, their weapons humming. They moved with terrifying precision, their armor reflecting the dim light. The father lowered his son gently onto the bench. Stay here, buddy, he whispered, brushing the boy's hair back. The child stirred, but didn't wake fully. The man turned back, gripping the steel bar that still glowed faintly with alien energy. The first hunter fired, a beam slicing through the tunnel. The father swung, sparks flying as the energy clashed against the steel. The shock burned his arms, but he forced himself forward, striking the hunter's mask with a roar. The metal cracked, sparks bursting, and the hunter staggered back. The woman unleashed her power beside him, light blasting from her hands to throw another hunter against the tunnel wall. The third raised its weapon toward the boy, and the father's heart stopped. He lunged, but before he could reach, the boy opened his eyes. They glowed. A wave of light pulsed outward from his small body, slamming into the hunter and hurling it across the tunnel like a rag doll. The father froze, staring at his son in disbelief. The woman gasped, tears filling her eyes. The spark, it has awakened fully. The boy blinked, confused, his small hands glowing faintly before the light dimmed again. Daddy, he whispered, his voice trembling. The father scooped him up, holding him tight. I'm here, you're safe. But inside, his heart thundered. He had seen what his son could do, something no human child should be able to. The last standing hunter hissed, retreating back into the shadows. The woman grabbed the father's arm. We have to move. That blast will draw more of them. They know now, they know what your son is. The man looked at her, anger, fear, and desperation colliding in his eyes. Then tell me what he is. All of it, no more secrets. She held his gaze, her glowing eyes steady. Your son is the key, the bridge between our worlds. My people fear him because he could unite them with you or destroy everything. That is why they hunt. That is why I was sent. Not to survive. Not to hide, but to find him. The father's fists tightened, his jaw hard. He looked down at his son, small and fragile in his arms, yet carrying the power of stars. His voice was steady. filled with a fire that even the storm above couldn't match. Then they'll have to kill me before they touch him. Above them, the tunnel shook again. The war wasn't waiting, it was coming to them. The ground trembled as the hunters advanced through the tunnels, their weapons glowing brighter, their steps echoing like thunder in the dark. The father stood at the front, his steel bar burning faintly with alien energy, while the woman and the boy stayed behind him. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing against his chest. This wasn't just a fight, it was the end of everything he had known. The woman stepped forward, her eyes glowing fiercely. If they take him, your son will be turned into a weapon, not a child, not human, not free. We cannot let that happen. The father glanced at his boy, who clung to the woman's hand. All die before they touch him. His voice was iron, sharp and unshaken. The first hunter appeared in the chamber, its mask gleaming, weapon charged. Two more followed, spreading out to block every path of escape. Behind them, the hum of ships vibrated through the stone ceiling. They weren't just hunting anymore. They were closing the trap. The boy's eyes began to glow faintly again, like a small flame struggling against the dark. He raised his hand, and the air shimmered around him. The father looked down at him in shock. Son, what are you doing? The woman's voice was calm, almost reverent. He's awakening. He is drawing from the spark. But he needs you. The father knelt, pressing his forehead against his son's. His voice was steady, filled with all the love and strength he had carried through every hardship. I'm here, buddy. You're not alone. Whatever you are, whoever you are, you're mine. And I'll fight with you. The boy's glow flared, spreading through his small frame into the father's chest. The steel bar in his hand lit up, no longer just glowing faintly, but burning bright, pulsing with the same light as his son's eyes. The woman gasped, tears streaming down her face. The bond, it's real, you're connected. Together, you are stronger than even the hunters feared. The first hunter fired. A beam slicing across the chamber, the father swung the burning steel, splitting the beam into shards of light that shattered against the wall. With a roar, he charged, his strikes fueled not by rage, but by the unbreakable need to protect. Each swing of his weapon cracked armor, sparks bursting into the tunnel. The woman lifted her hands, light surging from her palms, weaving round the boy like a shield. She chanted in her alien tongue, her voice echoing through the chamber. The boy's glow expanded, forming a dome of light that pushed the hunters back. The father fought within that light, unstoppable, his body moving like it carried the strength of 10 men. One hunter lunged with a blade of energy, but the father caught it with the steel bar and twisted, breaking the weapon in half. He slammed the bar into the hunter's chest, sending it crashing against the wall. Another tried to flank him, but the boy raised his glowing hand, and a pulse of light froze the creature mid-step, giving his father the opening to strike it down. The last hunter hesitated, its glowing eyes flickering. For the first time, there was uncertainty in its stance. The father stepped forward, weapon burning, his voice booming. You will not take him. He swung, shattering the hunter's mask, revealing not a face, but a hollow machine powered by alien light. It collapsed, sparks flying. Silence filled the chamber, broken only by the storm above and the father's heavy breathing. The woman lowered her hands, exhausted, but her eyes shone with horror. She looked at the boy, who leaned against his father's chest, still glowing faintly. He has done what no one thought possible. He has turned your love into strength that even the hunters cannot break. The father held his son close, his arms trembling, his chest tight with pride and fear all at once. He's just a child, he whispered. The woman shook her head. No, he is more. He is hope for both our worlds. Above, the hum of the ships began to fade. The hunters were gone, retreating into the stormy sky for now. They had lost, but the woman's eyes darkened. They will return, and next time, they will bring more than hunters. They will bring war. The father stood tall, his son in his arms, the glowing steel still burning faintly in his hand. His voice was steady, filled with defiance. Then let them come. I'll be ready. The boy stirred, his small voice breaking the silence. Daddy, yes, son. The child's glowing eyes softened into innocent blue again. We're safe now. The father kissed his hair, his arms holding him tighter than ever. For tonight. Yes, we're safe. The woman looked at them, a strange mix of sorrow and hope in her glowing eyes. She had nearly given up her life on the bridge, ready to fall into the dark. But now she stood with them, knowing she had found something she had never expected: family, and the strength of a human heart. And so, deep underground, while the storm raged above, the three of them sat together in silence, a father, a son, and a stranger from the stars. Alone, they would have fallen. But together, they had stood against the storm. The war was not over, but for the first time, she believed humanity might endure it.